I hope you enjoyed last week's episode on millennials and what they want the older generations to know. If you missed it, please go back and listen to episode 58. Today, I'm extracting lessons from the people and interviews I have been privileged to do and talk to, covering topics, such as personal success, living a life of service, and being an overcomer. Each person brought unique perspectives to the topics discussed, and I wanted to cover some of the takeaways they shared in today's episode. Okay, let's get right into it. Sometimes we don't move forward or try new things, especially unfamiliar things, because we're uncertain about the outcome. What if it doesn't work out? What if I regret it? What if I make a bad decision? Dr. Dina Stevenson, a former school principal who left her job to successfully pursue an educational consulting company, addressed that hesitancy and offered an enlightening perspective on it. Let's hear what she has to say.
It wasn't without reservation,
Sure.
but I always knew I'm a firm believer in if it doesn't work, okay, you can always go back. Like if leaving medicine didn't work for me, I can always go back to medicine. If leaving the principal didn't work for me, I could always go back to the principalship.
Right.
It wasn't like a do or die situation. And I think that's what people feel. They don't want to leave a particular situation because they're like, well, what if it doesn't work?
Sure.
Well, what if it does?
I love that Dr. Stevenson flipped the switch in our thinking with the question asking, what if it does work out? Our minds sometimes automatically think of what could go wrong, and we forget to think about what could go right. What are the possibilities for success instead of thinking on the possibilities for failure? So we've already established that stepping out, doing something new, or making a major transition can be scary. Maria Morabito, a speech pathologist who transitioned to starting and running a Christian private school, has this to say about going forward in spite of that fear or trepidation we all can experience when faced with a daunting task or transition.
And so I almost had to basically leave my job as a speech pathologist. So going back to the switch over for me from speech pathology and let you know, I was still doing my speech pathology work, my speech therapy cases, in addition to the school once we started.
Okay.
And so, it's just a point of I was very afraid. And I think that's what people have to understand. Sometimes you're making a shift or a change in your life and you're afraid because it's new and it's unknown, but you take that chance.
Sure.
You do it afraid.
Absolutely. So as Maria said, sometimes you have to do it afraid. Fear is a paralyzer, and it will cause you to always stay where you are comfortable. Great things happen outside your comfort zone, but you'll never find that out if you let fear get in the way. You have to learn how to be uncomfortable sometimes and do it afraid. Thanks, Maria, for that great reminder and encouragement. Now, you also have to know that success is a journey and not necessarily a destination. Let's listen to Jacob Mays, a successful entrepreneur who left the corporate world to start his own business, talk about the pursuit of success.
There are some things that I still want to achieve as it relates to family and things like that because I'm not married. I don't have any kids.
Okay.
So I don't consider myself 100% successful in those terms.
Okay.
I think I'm more successful in some areas than I am in others. But success, I think, is a journey
I
and
agree.
not necessarily a destination.
Good. A journey
So-
and not a destination.
Because you can be successful today and less successful tomorrow, depending on circumstances. So it's something that's continuously in flux. So it's just something that you always have to maintain and to pursue.
I love what Jacob said about being successful in one area while sometimes simultaneously being not so successful in another area. Humans are multifaceted. We're complex beings who live multifaceted, complex lives, making success something we're always in pursuit of, and we're always perfecting in one way or another. Thank you, Jacob, for that insight. And our last interview clip is Pastor William T. Clark Jr., a pastor who transitioned from a construction engineering job to full-time pastoring and global ministry work. He explains that knowing your purpose, or as he calls it, finding your why, as being essential components of success. Let's hear what he has to say.
When we know that we're standing full on in the purposes of God for our lives, now you're living life to the full. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Some paraphrases and other translations say that you might live life to the full. Finding your why is living life to the full. You can't find your why on your own. God will send you right others, not just others, but right others who will help you along your way. And they'll direct you, they'll help you in all of these other areas, right? And so you don't have to suffer from an over-exaggerated sense of self, whether the exaggeration is that you're too big or too little. Both is the sin of pride. Find a coach, a mentor, a tutor, as long as it's somebody who's been where you're trying to go, and God is faithful. And
That is
you'll see
awesome.
Him move and work in your life.
Finding your why. I love that. I think everybody needs to do that. Find out why you're here on earth and serve in that capacity. That is where success is for you, or where you'll find success in your life. Okay, that's all I have for today. If you want to listen to the entire interviews mentioned today, here is where you can find them. Maria Morabito's interview is episode 21. Dr. Dina Stevenson's interview is episode 25. Pastor William Clark's interview is episode 27. And Jacob May's interview is episode 29. That's all I have for today. Tune in next week for more lessons from podcast interviews. Bye for now.